Hello friends, this is Miss Jennifer with the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board Prevention Services Storytime. Today we are going to read the Tawny, Scrawny Lion. Once there was a tawny, scrawny, hungry lion who could never get enough to eat. He chased monkeys on Monday, kangaroos on Tuesday, zebras on Wednesday, bears on Thursday, camels on Friday, and on Saturday, elephants. And since he caught everything he ran after, that lion should have been as fat as butter. But he wasn't at all. The more he ate, the scrawnier and the hungrier he grew. And the other animals didn't feel one bit safe, and they stood at a distance and tried to talk things over with the tawny, scrawny lion. "It's all your fault for running away," he grumbled. "If I didn't have to run for every single bite I get, I'd be as fat as butter and slick as satin. And then I wouldn't have to eat so much, and you'd last longer." And just then a fat little rabbit came hopping through the forest picking berries, and all the big animals looked at him and grinned slyly. "Rabbit," they said. "Oh, you lucky rabbit. We appoint you to talk things over with the lion." And that made the little rabbit feel very proud. "What shall I talk about?" he asked eagerly. Any old thing," said the big animals. "The important thing is to get really close to him." And so the fat little rabbit hopped right up to the big hungry lion, and he counted his ribs. "You look much too scrawny to talk things over," he said. "So how about supper at my house first?" "What's for supper?" asked the lion. The little rabbit said, "Carrot stew." That sounded awful to the lion, but the little rabbit said, "Yes, sir. My 5 fat sisters and 4 fat brothers are making a delicious big carrot stew right now." "Well, what are we waiting for?" cried the lion, and he went hopping away with the little rabbit, thinking of 10 fat rabbits and looking just as jolly as you please. "Well," grinned all the big animals, "that should take care of the tawny scrawny for today." Before very long, the lion began to wonder if they would ever get to the rabbit's house. First, the fat little rabbit kept stopping to pick berries and mushrooms and all sorts of good-smelling herbs. And when his basket was full, what did he do but flop down on the riverbank? "Wait a bit," he said. "I want to catch a few fish for the stew." Well, that was almost too much for the hungry lion. For a moment, he thought he would have to eat the little rabbit then and there. But he kept saying, 5 fat sisters and 4 fat brothers, over and over to himself, and at last the 2 were on their way again. This lion is hungry, guys. "Here we are," said the rabbit, hopping around a turn with the lion close behind him. Sure enough, there was the rabbit's house with a big pot of carrot stew bubbling over an open fire. And sure enough, there were 9 more fat, merry little rabbits hopping all around. And when they saw the fish, they popped them into the stew along with the mushrooms and herbs, and the stew began to smell very good indeed. And when they saw the tawny, scrawny lion, they gave him a big bowl of hot stew, and then they hopped about so busily that really it would have been quite a job for that tired, hungry lion to catch even one of them. And so he gobbled his stew, but the rabbits filled his bowl again. And when he had eaten all he could, then they heaped his bowl full of berries. And when the berries were gone, the tawny, scrawny lion wasn't scrawny anymore. He felt so good and fat and comfortable that he couldn't even eat anymore or move anymore. It's like after you eat Thanksgiving dinner. "Here's a fine thing," he said to himself. "All these little rabbits, and I haven't room inside of me for even one." And he looked at all those fine, fat little rabbits, and he wished he'd get hungry again. "Mind if I stay a while?" he asked. "We wouldn't even hear of you going," said the rabbits, and they all plumped themselves down in the lion's lap and began to sing silly songs. And somehow, even when it was time to say goodnight, that lion wasn't one bit hungry. And home he went through the soft moonlight, singing softly to himself, and he curled up in his bed, patted his tummy and smiled. And when he woke up in the morning, it was Monday. "Time to chase monkeys," said the lion. But he wasn't one little bit hungry for monkeys. What he wanted was some more of that stew. And so off he went to visit the rabbits. On Tuesday, he didn't want kangaroos, and on Wednesday, he didn't want zebras. And he wasn't hungry for bears on Thursdays. And on Friday, he didn't want any camels, and on Saturday, he didn't want any elephants. And all the big animals were so surprised and happy that they dressed in their best and went to see the little rabbit. "Rabbit," they said, "oh, you wonderful, wonderful rabbit. What in the world did you talk to that Tawny, scrawny, hungry, terrible lion about?" The little rabbit jumped up in the air and said, "Oh my goodness, we had such a good time with that nice jolly lion that I guess we forgot to talk about anything at all." And before the big animals could say one word, that tawny lion came skipping up the path, and he had a basket of berries for the fat rabbit sisters and a string of fish for the fat rabbit brothers and a big bunch of daisies for the fat rabbit himself. "I came for supper," he said, shaking paws all around. And then he sat down in the soft grass, looking fat as butter, sleek as satin, and jolly as all get out, all ready for another good big supper of carrot stew. The end. I hope you guys like that story. It was one of my favorites, one from when I was little. And I hope that you guys make good choices, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.